Come on. Cause he gonna swing on me. I ain't did nothing to that man, bro.
Even people who were used to wild nights in Atlanta were shocked by what happened at one of the city's most popular nightclubs. Drama was nothing new in the nightlife scene, but this felt different. The club was packed from wall to wall. Loud music blasted through the speakers, colourful lights flashed across the room, and the dance floor was crowded with influencers, celebrities, and partygoers looking to enjoy their night. At first glance, everything seemed normal. People were dancing, laughing, taking pictures, and enjoying expensive drinks. The VIP section was full of familiar faces, including Kirk Frost and Yung Joc. Both men were dressed sharply and sitting in a private booth overlooking the club. From a distance, they looked relaxed, but anyone paying close attention could tell something wasn't right. Unlike everyone else, they weren't celebrating. They held drinks in their hands, but neither appeared interested in taking a sip. Instead, they kept scanning the room. Their eyes moved from one side of the club to the other, as if they were searching for someone. Yung Joc occasionally leaned over to say something, but Kirk barely responded. His focus never left the crowd below. To the average person, they looked calm. However, their body language told a completely different story. There was tension in the air, and they seemed to be waiting for a specific person to arrive. Then that person finally walked through the door. Lil Scrappy entered the club with the confidence that had always made him stand out. He wore a big smile and carried himself with the kind of energy that instantly attracted attention. Friends greeted him the moment he stepped inside. Fans came over to shake his hand, and he welcomed everyone with enthusiasm. Scrappy appeared to be having the time of his life. He laughed loudly, posed for selfies, and raised his glass while talking with people around him. His positive energy spread throughout the room, drawing more people into his circle. Wherever he went, attention followed. Most people saw a man enjoying a night out. A few others noticed something different. Across the room, Kirk and Joc never stopped watching him. Every move Scrappy made seemed to catch their attention. Their expressions remained serious, and neither looked interested in joining the fun. Those who noticed their behavior could feel that something was building beneath the surface. Near the bar, a dancer briefly stopped and looked toward Scrappy's section. Several security guards quietly adjusted their positions around the club. Even the DJ seemed to slow down for a moment, sensing that something unusual was happening. The mood had changed, even if nobody could fully explain why. Back in the VIP booth, Kirk leaned closer to Joc and spoke quietly. Joc listened carefully, nodded, and then checked his phone. After a few seconds, he looked up and pointed subtly toward Scrappy's area. Kirk followed his gaze. Neither man smiled. A waitress arrived carrying another bottle for the table. As she approached, she noticed the serious looks on their faces. Without saying much, she carefully placed the bottle down and quickly walked away. She could feel the tension too. By now, several people nearby had started paying attention. Nobody knew exactly what was happening, but many sensed that something was about to unfold. Meanwhile, Scrappy continued talking and laughing with his group. One of his friends leaned in and whispered something into his ear. Scrappy's smile faded slightly. He turned his head and looked directly toward Kirk and Joc's booth. For a few seconds, the room seemed to slow down. The three men locked eyes. At that moment, it became clear that Kirk and Joc hadn't been sitting there by accident. They had been waiting. And now the waiting was over. A short time later, Kirk and Yung Joc stood up and left the VIP area. They moved through the crowd with purpose. People quickly stepped aside as they approached. Nobody wanted to get in their way. The atmosphere instantly became heavier. There was no shouting yet, no physical confrontation, but everyone nearby could feel that something serious was about to happen. Scrappy stood near the center of the dance floor, surrounded by friends, when he noticed them coming directly toward him. Trying to stay calm, he nodded as they approached. "What's up, Scrappy?" he asked, opening his arms in a friendly gesture. His voice sounded casual, though there was a hint of caution behind it. Neither Kirk nor Joc returned the smile. Instead, they stepped closer. The music suddenly felt louder than ever, yet all attention seemed focused on the conversation unfolding in front of them. Joc spoke first. His voice remained low, but his words were impossible to ignore. "Scrap, we've heard what you've been saying," he said while staring directly into his eyes. "You've been talking way too much." Scrappy looked confused. Talking about what? He asked. Joc didn't hesitate. You know exactly what we're talking about. Acting cool with us face to face while saying something completely different behind our backs. Before Scrappy could respond, Kirk joined in. His tone was firm and direct. You really thought none of this would get back to us? Then he pulled out his phone and held it up. We've seen the receipts. The statement immediately raised the tension. Joc pointed toward the phone. You were saying all kinds of things at that studio last week. Did you really think nobody would tell us? We heard everything. Scrappy glanced at the screen before looking back at them. His expression changed. The conversation was no longer friendly. You guys are taking everything out of context, Scrappy replied, his voice growing louder. I said what I said, but not the way you're making it sound. Kirk remained completely calm. Context doesn't matter, he answered. You still said it. Those words hit hard. Now the argument wasn't just about rumors or misunderstandings. It had become personal. Whatever evidence they believed they had was fueling their anger, and neither side seemed willing to back down. The crowd continued watching from a distance. Conversations stopped. Phones slowly began appearing in people's hands. Everyone could feel the situation getting more intense. For the first time that night, Scrappy's usual confidence seemed shaken. The smile that had followed him into the club was gone. His face was flushed, his jaw was tight, and the tension between the three men had reached a boiling point. What started as a normal night out had turned into something nobody in that club would forget anytime soon. You all are acting like I'm some kind of snake, Scrappy fired back, but I've been honest with both of you more times than I can even remember. His frustration was obvious. You think I'm worried about some screenshots or receipts? Come on, half the people around here aren't real anyway. Loyalty doesn't exist like it used to. The moment he raised his voice, everything changed. People who hadn't been paying attention suddenly turned around to see what was happening. Conversations stopped. More phones came out as people started recording. Around the edge of the dance floor, security guards began moving closer. Even the DJ noticed the tension and lowered the music slightly. The entire club was now focused on the confrontation. Scrappy pointed directly at Kirk's phone. You want to show people that, he shouted. Then show everything. Show the part where all of you were talking about me when I wasn't around. The statement hit hard. For a brief moment, nobody said a word. Young Joc looked ready to respond, but Kirk held up a hand to stop him. Let him talk, Kirk said calmly. Let him get everything off his chest. But Scrappy wasn't finished. His emotions had taken over, and years of frustration seemed to be pouring out all at once. I stood by both of you, he continued. I supported you when it mattered. Now you're ready to throw everything away because of a conversation that you're twisting into something it wasn't. By now, a crowd had formed around them. Nobody was standing too close, but everyone wanted a clear view. The argument had become the center of attention in the club. At this point, it wasn't really about who said what anymore. It was about pride. It was about respect. And most of all, it was about trust. The energy in the room was impossible to ignore. Everyone could feel that things were getting dangerously close to boiling over. The argument continued to grow louder. Neither Scrappy nor Joc seemed willing to back down. Then Scrappy stepped forward. The small space between him and Joc disappeared. They were now standing chest to chest. Joc held his ground. Seeing how quickly things were escalating, Kirk moved beside Joc and looked directly at Scrappy. His voice was serious. You need to take a step back before this turns into something bigger. But Scrappy wasn't interested in backing down. His eyes stayed locked on them. After a brief pause, he answered, It already is something bigger. Those words landed like gasoline on a fire. The tension snapped. Joc moved forward. Scrappy reacted instantly. With one hard shove to Joc's chest, he sent him stumbling backward into people standing nearby. And just like that, everything exploded. Chaos erupted across the dance floor. A drink flew through the air. A glass crashed onto the floor and shattered. People jumped out of the way as shouting filled the room. Kirk lunged forward while several others rushed in at the same time. One of Scrappy's friends grabbed him, trying to pull him back before things got worse. Another member of his crew tried to intervene but lost his footing and bumped into a VIP guest nearby. Within seconds, what had started as a heated argument had turned into a full-blown fight. People were pushing, yelling, and trying to avoid getting caught in the middle. Chairs tipped over. Drinks spilled across tables and onto the floor. The flashing club lights only made the scene look even more chaotic. Some guests screamed and rushed toward the exits. Others did the exact opposite. They pulled out their phones and started recording. Dozens of screens were suddenly pointed toward the fight. The nightclub wasn't just witnessing drama anymore. It was watching a complete meltdown unfold in real time.